What's good, everybody? Welcome into our weekly NFL Props Only episode of The Early Edge right here on our YouTube channel. If you are not a subscriber yet, what in the world are you waiting for? I am the coach. I'm here every single morning, every single day. In the evening, except for Saturdays. We are powered by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all of sports betting, and it's not even close. Let's stay active in the chat today because, as you know, we're always giving away year-long memberships. And you never know what else we're going to give away for being active and being positive into the chat. I see so many of you out there. Mark, Nick, Shaka, Mark, Michael, Lee, Shaka again, Anthony, Noah. Oh, the bosses are here. I got to be on my best behavior. All right. You know that I bring two of the most opposite stars that we have at SportsLine, but when you put them together, it's a beautiful marriage. Let's bring in the stars of the show. Here's what we're doing today. There he is live from all the way down in Florida. We call him Uncle Dave. Dave Richard from Fantasy Football Today. Hello, sir.
What's up, Coach? What's up, Alex? It's good to see you guys. I'm ready to bounce back after a brutal week last week, but I'm feeling good. I put in the research, put in the time. A lot of the guys that I like this week in player props are going to correlate to guys I like in fantasy this week. I've already talked about them on Fantasy Football Today. Can't wait to share it with you guys here today.
And we can't wait for the knowledge. And guess what, Dave? Everybody on planet Earth got crushed last week. It was an upside-down week.
It was incredible.
Yeah. It's one thing because part of sports betting is competing. I want to be able to compete. Even if I lose a bet, we couldn't even compete last week, and that was mentally debilitating. But you have to bounce back, and that's what we're going to do. His partner every single week here on the Prop Show, we call them Prop Stars from the Pacific Northwest. They couldn't be farther apart. Oh, but they're beautiful together. Prop Stars, welcome back, sir.
What is up, Coach? Uncle Dave, great to see you, as they say in the wrestling world, from parts unknown, Coach.
One of my favorite human beings on planet Earth was Howard Finkel from Parts Unknown. Oh, man, rest in peace, Howard. We love the Fink. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We go through what my guys love as their best bets as far as props are concerned. If you have a prop that you like and we're in a game, then put it into the chat. Also put the price that it is, because that means everything to my guys. Also, if it's not in our game, you can throw it up there too. We'll try to get to as many as props as we possibly can over the course of the next 45 to 60 minutes. So after last week, let's quickly show our recap if we have it there, Jeweler, because we are the most transparent show in all of sports betting. And if we don't, well, we already know we had a bad week. So either way, we got you covered. We know we had a bad week. There it is right there. We always show our recap on every single show and the season-long recap as well. But let's spin it, and let's go to this week. All right, if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Let's jump right in. Game number one, Bills and the Jets. And this has been, I think, a very talked about number on our mega preview, which came out on Tuesday in your feed right now, because the Bills are laying double digits for the second straight week against another bad football team. But we don't care about the side. We don't care about the total of 47.5. We care about the props. And, Alex, you have two plays in this game. The floor is yours.
I do indeed, Coach. The first play being Stefan Diggs over 73.5 receiving yards. I found this at minus 115 this morning. Look, with Stefan Diggs, he is coming off of a dominant 2020 campaign in which he led the entire NFL in receiving yards. He had 1,535. He's had somewhat of a quiet start to this season through the halfway point. He's a seventh-year pro. He's on pace for a solid season by most standards, but surprisingly, he has only registered one single 100-yard receiving effort this season compared to last season when he finished with 7. Despite the dip in production, he's still playing at a very high level, in my opinion, according to all the metrics as well. He has a very healthy target share and a high-volume passing attack, and I believe he's poised to have a very big finish to the second half of the season starting this weekend versus the Jets. Buffalo, obviously, as we know, is coming off of a humiliating loss to the Jaguars where they failed to score a single touchdown. They mustered only 6 points. The Bills have a potential get-right spot versus the Jets, who are surrendering the most points per game, 31.4. They have allowed a whopping 130 points over their last 3 games to the Patriots, Colts, and Bengals, who don't exactly profile as explosive offenses. Furthermore, the Jets rank 30th in defensive passing DVOA. They're surrendering the third most passing yards per game and are allowing the fourth highest completion rate. And they're simply just going to be overmatched, in my opinion, by this Buffalo offense. Diggs is the number one receiving option on the league's, or one of the league's most explosive passing offense. He has a tremendous matchup versus the Jets, who do not possess a corner capable of handling him one-on-one. I also love the fact that the Bills offense is getting healthy. Dawson Knox is returning to the lineup. They have so many explosive playmakers. It prevents opposing defenses and secondaries from keying on Diggs too much. I believe the Bills are going to look to make an example out of the Jets. I think Diggs winds up with his second 100-yard receiving game of the season in the process. So yeah, I love Stefan Diggs over 73.5 receiving yards. My second play from this game, going to the opposite side, going to the Jets, and I am going with an under. It is Corey Davis under 49.5 receiving yards. He's appeared in 6 games this season. Davis has been held under this line in 4 of those games, including 4 of his last 5 games played. He's returning to the Jets lineup after a 2-week absence where he missed the previous 2 games due to a hip injury. The Jets receiving room has quietly become a little bit crowded with Jamison Crowder, Elijah Moore, Keelan Cole, all healthy and vying for targets. Davis will also have the unenviable task of facing a Buffalo defense that has given up the fewest yards to opposing wide receivers. They've allowed just 928 yards to the position through 8 games. That is phenomenal. The Bills also ranked first in defensive passing DVOA, first in opponent passing yards per game, first in yards per pass attempt, first in yards per completion, and second in opponent completion percentage. This is a good time to mention they're also facing a rookie quarterback taken in the 5th round, as we know, and Mike White making his 3rd career start. In fairness to Mike White, he's played well. He's played above, I think, anyone's expectations. However, he has relied on a very quick release, peppering his running backs and wide receivers with targets close to the line of scrimmage, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. This does not bode well for Corey Davis, however, who leads the team in ADOT, average depth of target. He's primarily running his routes deep down the field. So, yeah, it takes time for those routes to develop. Mike White is getting rid of the ball quickly. So I think Davis is also going to see plenty of Tre'Davious White, who is the Bills' top corner. He shadows the opposing team's number one receivers on a week-to-week basis. This is just a very tough spot for Corey Davis, in my opinion. He's also miscast as a number one receiver on this Jets offense. He's been inconsistent. Now he faces an angry Bills defense coming off a humiliating loss. I love fading Corey Davis under 49.5 receiving yards.
I tell you what, I enjoyed 2 things during the last 3 minutes of that dissertation. 2, the 2 picks that you gave out. And number 1 was reading all the comments in the chat about different things. One of them from Aaron Thomas. He says, Alex inhales prop info and exhales success, which is awesome. They're wondering what the over-under is on head nods from prop stars. They're wondering if Uncle Dave is going to the early bird special in the tracksuit before 6 p.m. And is Alex going to be done so he can get the dinner on time?
I was wondering the same thing.
Oh, my God. I love this hour so much. We have people. Hopefully it's a college student. We have somebody who skipped 7th hour so he can watch the show live so he can get the numbers in so they don't move when they watch it on demand. You have to watch the show live. Oh, my God. I'm dying right now. You guys in the chat are amazing. What we're creating is amazing. Keep that funny stuff coming because it's what we're here for. All right. So we got 2 official plays so far. Let's move on to our next game, and it's going to be the Falcons taking on the Cowboys, and somehow Vegas has put this number at 9 for the Dallas Cowboys, who got beat by 14 at home by the Broncos, and the Falcons actually covered against the Saints. Now, Dave, you have 2 plays from this game. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And by the way, the fact that it's 9 makes me wonder if they're trying to get you to take the Falcons because it's just too many points, especially after what we saw last week from the Cowboys and their offense. Really, the problem with the Cowboys offense last week, the offensive line didn't protect Dak, and Dak missed throws. I wonder if they try and realign that O-line and maybe have a chance to blow out the Falcons. And remember who the defensive coordinator is for the Dallas Cowboys, Dan Quinn.
That's
former
right.
head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And I think that Quinn probably knows a thing or two about that team, but I bet he doesn't care if they throw for over 300 yards as long as they win the game. So I'm going to start with Matt Ryan over 290.5 passing yards at even money on Caesars Sportsbook. Falcons can't run the football first and foremost. Mike Davis can't get the job done. Cordero Patterson has been amazing as a pass catcher, not so good as a running back, at least not outside of the red zone. The Cowboys are allowing 287.5 pass yards per game. It includes keeping the last three quarterbacks they've faced to under 250 yards. Who are these quarterbacks? It's Kirk Cousins, Teddy Bridgewater, and Mac Jones. I would put Matt Ryan at least one level ahead of those guys. And those quarterbacks average 28 pass attempts per game, or pass attempts against the Dallas Cowboys. We know that Matt Ryan's last four games, he's averaged 292 passing yards and 35.5 attempts per game. Randy Gregory of the Cowboys, one of their best pass rushers. He's on IR. He's not playing. That hurts their pass rush. I think Matt Ryan is always a better quarterback when he's got time to throw and he doesn't feel as pressured as he might in a normal matchup. This isn't that case. And Dan Quinn, I mentioned it, the fact that he's there, I'm sure he's going to be interested in trying to keep Matt Ryan from beating them. But above all, he just wants to make sure that his defense can keep the Falcons just to keep a competitive game at this point. It's the Cowboys offense that really needs to get figured out and fixed. And they've got the matchup to go ahead and put points on the Falcons pass defense, which Quinn's going to know a thing or two about as well. Matt Ryan's going to be forced to throw a lot. I think he finds 300 yards for the fourth time in 5 games. That's why I'm taking the over on 290.5 passing yards. The next one I've got, there's an interesting story that comes with this one, guys. It's Dalton Schultz, and the original line that I found for this one from Caesars Sportsbook, and I found it maybe 3 hours ago, was 51.5 receiving yards at -120. Before I could even get down to the first floor of our building, come into this studio, and come on the air with you, it dropped by 3 points. Or I'm not by 3 points, 3 yards. We're down to 48.5 on Dalton Schultz. And you might look at his last 6 games, 5 of his last 6 games, he's been above this number. And you might say, well, this is an easy over because he's been above this number. And I think that's what the odds makers want you to believe. I think they want you to think that Dalton Schultz is going to continue to keep this up. Michael Gallup is back for the Dallas Cowboys at wide receiver. Small sample size alert. But in the first half of their first game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, before anybody knew who Dalton Schultz even was, Michael Gallup earned a 19% target share from Dak Prescott. He got hurt in the second half, and in the second half of the game, Dalton Schultz had a 15% target share. In the first half, Dalton Schultz saw 2 targets. That's a 6% target share. That's low. So another mouth to feed in this offense. And we've already seen Dalton Schultz start to lose some of that target share. Over the last 3 weeks, he's been at 13.8%. From weeks 2 through 5, he's been at 23.3%. The Falcons allow about 10.5 yards per catch to tight ends. It's one of the more better marks in the National Football League, but I still think that Dalton Schultz is going to be unlikely to get around 5-6 catches. I don't think it's going to be there for him. He could catch 3 or 4 balls. He can come in between 35 and 45 yards. Guess what? We still win this under on Dalton Schultz.
All right, very good. I like those 2 plays a lot. Real quick, you got to go backwards. Loadmeister in the chat. Relax, my brother. Or if you're a female, relax. We have a ton of people talking in the chat. Corey Davis has gone down to 45.5. Alex, would you still play it at that, even though you gave it out at 49.5?
I'd play it down to 44.5. So yes.
All right, Loadmeister, relax. Damn, we have so many people watching. I'm only one person. I'm only one person. My goodness, sometimes it's very frustrating when you guys answer me. All right, let's move on to the next game. We got a lot of props to get here, guys, so we got to speed it up just a little bit. All right, so we have 4 plays out so far. All right, Lions and Steelers, and then we'll get to some of the questions in the chat. So in this game, Steelers are giving 8. Total 42.5. This is a weird number. They almost says stay away from the side, but we have a prop that, Alex, you love. What is it?
I do. That is TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. Hawk has been an absolute target monster, especially recently. He's gotten 31 targets over the last 3 games. He's turned that into 24 catches for 211 yards, also clearing this number in 3 consecutive games. He's averaging 8 targets per game. He's had at least 8 targets in 6 of 8 games this season. and he's had at least 5 catches in 5 of 8 of those games. He ranks third in targets per games to only Travis Kelce and Darren Waller at the tight end position. He has a 75% catch rate. That is very impressive for the amount of volume and targets he receives. We just saw last week Cole Kmet had a career game versus the same Pittsburgh defense. He reeled in 6 of 8 targets for 87 receiving yards. Detroit ranks 8th in passing attempts per game with 38.8. Jared Goff is airing the ball out a ton. He has at least 21 completions in every game. He's averaging 25.9 completions per game. The Lions also have marginal to below average wide receiver talent and depth. Hawkinson is not only serving as Goff's security blanket, but he is the number one option in this Lions passing attack. He also has a low ADOT, which doesn't translate to efficient real life football, but it translates to being productive as far as props are concerned. His ADOT is 7.19 yards. Again, it's beneficial in this instance. It indicates he's running a lot of shallow routes that are close to the line of scrimmage that result in a lot of catches. Remember, with receptions prop, efficiency does not matter. He could go 5 catches for 15 yards. We get paid the same amount as if he finishes 5 catches for 150 yards. Hawkinson is also healthy, which I really like. He hasn't appeared on the injury report for the last 2 weeks. He had a minor dip in production after the first 3 weeks where he was routinely appearing on the injury report. He's been participating in full in practice. I think he's going to continue to have close to double-digit targets again on Sunday. So, yeah, I absolutely love TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions.
And I love just saying his name, Hawkinson. Love that a lot. Let's play a little rapid fire real quick. Get a lot of questions in the chat. Cordarrelle Patterson, over 4.5 catches at -115. Dave, I'll come to you.
Oh, I like his chances to go over on that one. We know Calvin Ridley's not playing. I think that means Patterson will play a little bit more as a wide receiver. 5 catches against the Cowboys should happen. And that's one, again, Alex mentioned it. Efficiency doesn't really matter. You just need him to make the grabs. Not only can he make downfield throws, but he's getting the ball on screens and slants too.
Mm-hmm. Alex, let me come back to you. Bills, Jets. I know you don't normally like touchdown props. Plus 155 for Josh Allen over 2.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I do. Obviously, I do like the Diggs prop. However, I believe the Jets are going to dare the Bills to run the football. I think they're going to play certain coverage where they're playing basically 4 deep players, kind of taking away all of the deep routes from this Bills offense. That's what we saw last week versus Jacksonville. Teams are just inviting the Bills to run, and Josh Allen is having trouble adjusting to that. For that reason, I don't know how much he's going to air the ball out. I think they're going to just have to have a more balanced approach in order to sustain drives and move the ball. So, yeah, I don't actually love that prop, even though I am obviously bullish on Diggs.
All right, very good. Tom in the chat says, who gives out this much info? Answer, nobody. That's why this is the must-watch prop show of the entire week. Let's go to we already talked in the Falcons game. So, Dave, let me come back to you. Kyle Pitts, over 67.5 receiving yards, -115.
Oh, the heart wants to take that one, Coach, because Kyle Pitts is so fun. And again, this is a Dallas Cowboys defense that started to slide the wrong way. Even Stefan Diggs, everybody's making this huge deal about him. He was burned on a deep touchdown last week by Tim Patrick, not even Courtland Sutton, not Jerry Judy, their number 3 receiver, Tim Patrick. If I'm going to lean one way or the other, it's probably going to be over, just because I think Matt Ryan's going to have over 300 yards, and it's going to be hard for him to do if Kyle Pitts doesn't have a good game. But I would rather sink my chips on Matt Ryan going over than Kyle Pitts.
That makes a lot of sense. Alex, let me come back to you. Shako says at MGM, TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 is at -145, and over and it's 5.5 at +125. Would you feel comfortable playing the 5.5 with plus money?
I think the 4.5 has a safer floor in this instance. I'm comfortable playing it up to say -150, -155. I'd look at it at 4.5 before you start to consider it at 5.5, even at plus odds.
All right, very good. All right, we'll get back to some of the other chat questions in a moment, but let's get back to my guys' games. We're going to go to the Saints and the Titans. 1 Eastern on Sunday. Titans are favored by 3. Saints, of course, playing with a new quarterback. Jameis Winston's out with that torn ACL. The total sitting at 44. Dave, what play do you like in this game?
Let's look at those Titans running backs. And we know that without Derrick Henry, it was a major gut punch to them and their offense in general. They still managed to win last week against LA. That was a shockeroo. But the guy that was leading the way for that run game, at least in terms of snaps played, was Jeremy Mcnichols. He played 45% of the snaps and 10 of 14 snaps on third downs and fourth downs. He's their passing downs guy. He was locked into that role in week 9. He actually led the Titans running backs in snaps. I mentioned that. So I'm looking at him going over 19.5 receiving yards at -110. He had an uncharacteristic 3.7 yards per catch in that game against LA. Go look at his games before. There was one game where he only had one catch for 10 yards, but he had another game where he was averaging over 10 yards per catch. I want to say it was right around 11 yards per catch. In fact, before last week, each of his previous 5 receptions were good for at least 10 yards, and he had a 9-yard catch last week. There is no guarantee that this is going to be a game like last week for the Titans where they're going to be able to play amazing defense and just run their way with Adrian Peterson and Deontay Foreman to success. I think it'll be a little bit more of a competitive game. The Saints bring that out in people, but they also allow 10.2 yards per catch to running backs. That's the second highest mark of this year. Now, you could look at the prop for Jeremy Mcnichols going over 2.5 receptions and just say, all right, all he needs is 3 catches, and you avoid the efficiency like we've talked about. But you got to lay 150 at Caesar Sportsbook in order to do that. If you can get that prop at -115, -110, go ahead and get it, because I think he can get 3 catches. But otherwise, I think he can get you 20 yards, and I like that there's less juice on this than there is on the receptions bet. He's going to get you 20 yards at minimum through the air.
You know, it's funny you mentioned juice and you mentioned Adrian Peterson, because there was no juice on the SportsLine showdown bet that I beat my man Prop Stars last week. Oh, it felt so good. And I can't believe that you would bring that bet up right now, Uncle Dave. That is just, I mean, come on.
I think my mic just cut out, fellas. I didn't hear any of the last minute or so spoken, so we can catch up to whatever was said later, I'm sure, at another point.
Andrew in the chat says, Coach, say under. Under. All right, we're about halfway through the show. If you have any other props, put them in the chat. We'll try to get to as many as you possibly can. But our brand is so big now, we actually have commercials. Check it out.
Every member of my family fights this fight.
I can't change the way things are done here.
Your influence within the prisons is unique.
He does a lot of good.
He will get you killed.
Mayor of Kingstown, streaming November 14th on Paramount Plus.
Hopefully that was as bad for you as it was for me, and it's a live show. Did you guys get that all jumping around, or was it cool for you?
It was good
cool
for me.
Oh, okay,
Perfect.
good. All right,
It looks like an incredible show, actually.
It actually is a very, very good show. In the family, on Showtime, Paramount Plus, all of that. You know how it goes. All right, let's get back to our games, because we have a lot more to get to. Vikings, Chargers, and Alex, we're coming back to you. Chargers, they've been a team. It's hard to believe that they haven't won more close games than they have. They're laying 3 at home to Minnesota, total 53.5. What play do you like in this game?
I've got to go with another under, gentlemen. We all know that Coach loves under, so I had to bring my favorite unders to this show. The play I have in this game is Kirk Cousins under 274.5 passing yards. Cousins has been held under 275 yards in 5 of 8 games to start the season. 2 of those games, he eclipsed this total. That game went to overtime as well. The Chargers are allowing a league worst 161 rushing yards per game. The Chargers have only allowed 1 quarterback all year to eclipse this number as well. The Chargers have given up the 4th fewest passing yards this season, 197 per game. Chargers ranked 9th in passing DVOA, while ranking dead last in rushing DVOA. I think this is very likely going to result in a game script where the Vikings run the ball a lot versus the Chargers rely heavily on Dalvin Cook. I have Cousins projected for 251 yards. I also think that this number just came in too large. While I do feel the Chargers secondary might not be quite as good as the raw numbers suggest, they definitely are a very talented group. Chris Harris Jr., Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, Mike Davis, Tavon Campbell are all very quality players. Their run defense is so poor, and they just have the inability to stop anyone on the ground is going to continue to force teams to run the ball down their throats, especially someone or a team coached by Mike Zimmer, who would like nothing more than to run the ball 50 plus times a game. So yeah, I love fading Kirk Cousins in this spot versus a stingy Charger defense who just gets gashed by running backs on the ground.
Dave, what do you got?
I find this game fascinating, and I looked long at that prop too, and almost brought it to the table. I really wanted to find one from this game that I liked, and I ended up finding nothing. Number one, there's a lot of injuries on that Vikings defense. They're going to be without Michael Pierce. That's one of their big run stoppers. Anthony Barr is another guy who might not play at linebacker for Minnesota. This could turn into a track meet for the running backs on both sides of the football, which makes me wonder if there really isn't any good overs for the passing game, period, in the matchup. But the fact that Alex nailed it with the run defense for the Chargers, they've been terrible. I know they're not going to have Mike Davis. It looks like they're going to have Asante Samuel back. If both of those cornerbacks were out, I don't know if I'd feel so good about this one, but Samuel will play. And the fact that the Vikings can get back to basics with the run, lean a little bit on Dalvin Cook a little bit more, it makes sense that you won't see as many pass attempts for Kirk Cousins. I like that under a little bit more than the yardage one, but I think they can both come in because I think the Vikings and Chargers are just going to take turns handing off to their backs.
All right, very good. Love the info from both. Let's stay in that game. Chat question. A very, very popular name in the prop market this year is Austin Eckler. His number, receiving yards, Alex, has come down to 37.5 because the last couple of weeks he just hasn't been that productive. Do you like this number back in the 30s?
So this might be a long-winded answer, but yeah, I've been riding Eckler all season. I am a huge fan of the guy. However, I have been very discouraged by his usage as a pass catcher. So the Chargers lack depth at running back. They are relying on Eckler heavily as a early down runner. He's running a lot between the tackles. He's been having 15 plus carries in most games. In my opinion, his skill set translates much more efficiently as a pass catching back, as a 2-minute back, as a huge mismatch out of the backfield. But the Chargers are instead choosing to deploy him just as an early down runner, and he's not getting the sort of usage that you'd like to see for a guy with his skill set. He only had 3 targets. He did turn those into 3 catches last week. But yeah, we've kind of seen a dip in his role as a pass catcher over the last few weeks. I believe Joshua Kelly is also expected to miss this game as well. He's going to continue to be relied on heavily as an early down runner. He's also not built to handle 20, 25 plus touches a game. So as much as I love Eckler, I love his skill set. I think he's one of the most talented pass catching backs in the NFL. He's just not getting the usage as a receiver that you want to see.
All right, very good. So maybe stay away from that this week because it's very frustrating when you think a guy's going to be used and he just doesn't see the field for the plays that you need him to see. It's very, very frustrating. All right, let's move on to our next game. We're going to go Eagles-Broncos. I'm coming back to Uncle Dave. Denver shocked the world. Maybe not as much as Jacksonville did, but they certainly shocked the world last week, going to Dallas and winning by 14 over the previously only once unbeaten Cowboys. So they're laying 2.5 against another NFC East team in the Eagles. The total at 45.5. Dave, what prop do you like in this game?
That game was more about Dallas losing than it was Denver winning. Dak was all over the place. His protection was terrible, but we're not talking about the Cowboys. We're talking about the Broncos, and my favorite Denver Bronco is Jerry Judy. Love the way that he's played coming back from the injured list. Got hurt in week 1, still had 6 catches for 72 yards. Last week, he had already shaken off the rust because he had played coming back from the injury list 2 games ago. He had 6 catches. He had 69 yards. That was nice, and now his player prop is at 58.5. This one's going over at -115. He's played 75% of his snaps this year in the slot. So he's being used in the middle of the field as well as on outbreaking routes. And he's an amazing route runner. The Eagles are allowing a 70.7% catch rate to slot wide receivers. That sounds high. It's actually league average, but they're allowing 14.1 yards per catch. That's 5th worst in football. And I think Jerry Judy needs 5 catches to go over, and he's been getting at least 6 when he's been playing for real. I think that this one's a slam dunk. It's my favorite play of the week, more than a double sprinkle. There's no such thing as a triple sprinkle. You got to get the shovel out for Jerry Judy, over 58.5 receiving yards. And I love him in fantasy too as a number 2 fantasy wideout.
Only on the early edge you get a double sprinkle. Alex, what do you got?
Yeah, I absolutely love this prop as well. I strongly considered it. I've actually been waiting for his receptions prop to pop up. Unfortunately, that line hasn't dropped yet. I was planning on including it on the show. I was more bullish on it when I saw Dave was on this prop as well. I think Dave mentioned this, but he's seen a target on 25% of his pass routes this season. Not a huge sample size, but that is absolutely phenomenal. I just love the way they're getting him the ball. I was extremely encouraged watching him in the first week back versus the Washington football team compared to last week versus Dallas. They were much more creative in ways that got him involved in the offense. He also looked a lot healthier as well, very explosive. I'm extremely bullish on Judy this game and the rest of the season as well. I love this prop.
Very good. We got 2 more chat questions in this game. So, Dave, let me come back to you. Melvin Gordon, over 49.5 rush yards. That's from Marcos.
I'm always worried about taking the over yardage on him or Javonte Williams because they've been splitting basically 50-50 all year long. The only edge that Melvin Gordon has had over Javonte Williams has come in the passing game, but there was a stretch in the middle of this season so far where Javonte Williams was catching more passes than Melvin Gordon was. I'm going to stay away from this one. I know that they just both went off against the Cowboys last week. I'm telling you, it was because the Dallas offense was sloppy and that it afforded so many opportunities to Denver to just run the ball and crush through that Cowboys defense. I'm not positive it's going to work out the same way this week against Philadelphia.
All right, very good. Let's stay in that same game. And Alex, last week, Devontae Smith all of a sudden goes bananas for the Eagles and becomes like their number one receiver in the game. So his number this week is 59.5 at -114. Do you think Devontae will have another big game for the Eagles?
I did get burned by him last week by taking his under. I still stand by the play because he did not receive a lot of volume. He was extremely efficient. I think he finished with 4 targets, turned that into 4 big catches. In my opinion, this Denver secondary is very stingy, very tough. A lot of Devontae's production has come in garbage time or versus poor secondaries. So I don't love this spot at all. I'm not necessarily going to fade him because I do see him getting more comfortable on a week-by-week basis. But, yeah, he's not receiving the sort of volume that I look for. He's been efficient. He's making the most of his targets. But, yeah, I don't love this number for him. And, yeah, he's been extremely efficient. I do think that's going to tail off a little bit as the season continues.
Very good. Dave, what do you got?
I dig this one. I think he goes over. We know that the Broncos secondary is a little beat up. Patrick Surtain not expected to play. That's just one guy. They've got a couple other defensive backs that are not going to be available in the game. Their pass rush, they're still without Bradley Chubb. They traded Von Miller. Jonathan Cooper is their best pass rusher. He looked like a Pro Bowler last week. I think he's going to have a harder time against a bunch of starters in Philadelphia. And I also think that the Eagles, we know that they've been running the ball like crazy. It's like a 65% run rate with their offense over the last 2 games. I don't think they can keep this up. I think that they're going to have to become a little bit more balanced of an offense. I think they know it too. So I'm expecting Jalen Hurts to throw the ball a little bit more. Alex talked about he needs more volume from Devontae Smith. He's caught 5 passes in 2 of his last 3 games. The one game against Detroit, he only had 1 catch. That might be something that scares people off. That was the game that the Eagles' run game was in full effect, and they didn't need to throw as much. I think they're going to have to in this game. I wouldn't mind taking the over, maybe just a sprinkle on Devontae Smith getting to 65, 75 yards, somewhere in that neighborhood. Another receiver I like in fantasy as like a top 28 guy, not necessarily a number 2 wideout.
Very good. Now, all that information that Uncle Dave and Alex just gave you takes a laser focus, a really laser focus on making sure everything that's going on in your mind is correct. And when my man Reed in the chat is doing what he's doing right now, I know there's a laser focus. Pull that text up for me, jeweler, because Reed told me, Coach, I have a Paramount Plus subscription. I am watching you guys live right now while I'm watching the Bubble Guppies. And that's what I'm talking about. And if you've ever been a father or a mother, you know what the Bubble Guppies is all about. Oh, that just warms my heart. It takes me back 6 or 7 years when my kids were that age. Bubble Guppies on Paramount Plus. Let's go. Also, a nice
enjoy these days because
right?
my oldest just got accepted into his first college this week.
Congratulations, Dave.
Things happen
Congratulations.
fast, especially once they
congratulations.
get to like 13 years old. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you have no money left. Congratulations, Dave. Good
Yeah,
job,
I need to win these props. Basically.
How about Kalana? I apologize, Chang, if I mispronounce your name, but so great to have you here. Look at that. Aloha from Hawaii, first-time chatter, but huge fan of Prop Stars. He and Matt Severance. Oh, wait a second. There was a Matt Severance sighting in the chat. Keeping me positive. Props to the team and coach. Man, we're all the way out in Hawaii. That's freaking awesome. Thank you for watching, and thank you for letting us know that you're watching. All right, let's get back to our picks for the week. Let's go to Green Bay. And have the Packers and Aaron Rodgers been in the news? Right now, Aaron Rodgers, by sitting out a week, just earned himself about $150 million because Jordan Love is not ready to be an NFL quarterback. So the Packers are laying 3.5. We just don't know yet the status of Aaron Rodgers. The total at 49. This will be the return of one Russell Wilson for the Seahawks. Alex, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, this might be possibly my favorite prop of the week. Certainly my favorite prop that I've given out on this show so far. That is A.J. Dillon over 54.5 rushing and receiving yards. I want to reiterate that is a combo prop, rushing and receiving yards. Football fans outside of Green Bay might not realize this, but A.J. Dillon has been outplaying Aaron Jones this season while simultaneously inching closer and closer to a 50-50 split in this Green Bay backfield. I'd love to get Dave's take on this after I give a long diatribe here regarding A.J. Dillon. But yeah, I have been so encouraged by him. He is explosive. He routinely fights for extra yards. He's getting more involved in the passing game. He possesses all the tools of an elite 3-down back. The Packers are also desperate need of playmakers, having very little talent outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones at their skill positions. Over the last 6 weeks, Dillon has eclipsed this total in 5 of 6 games, while averaging 10.1 rushing attempts and 68.5 combined rushing and receiving yards per game, and a very robust and impressive 5.9 yards per touch. What gets even more juicy is he gets a Seahawks team that is allowing 105 yards per game on the ground and 70.1 yards per game through the air to wide receivers. That is 175.1 combined rushing and receiving yards to the running back position. That is the second most combined yards allowed to on a per game basis to the position. That is exceptional. I love everything I have seen out of Dillon. He is forcing the Packers to increase his workload as he continues to excel in this Green Bay offense. He's somewhat matchup proof, in my opinion, at this low of a number as well. But luckily for us, he's facing a Seattle defense that has been absolutely shredded by running backs on the ground and through the air. I have a feeling this may be one of the last weeks we're treated to a modest prop line this low. We should enjoy it while it lasts. I love A.J. Dillon, and I love this number. Over 54.5 combined rushing and receiving yards.
I love when you say we're treated to this low number. I love that a lot. It is shout out time. You guys are following the jeweler, Drew, Elliot. Who else is typing coach in the chat? Oh, I see a bunch of people there. Oh gosh. And now they're typing Matty Severance, so we know we've gone off the rails. Corey is there, Kelsey's, Javon, Reed, everybody, Evan. We love all of you guys. Thank you so very much. All right. Rams and 49ers. This is one of the games of the week. In our Week 10 NFL Mega Preview, this is one of our top 5 games of the week. And it all leans towards the Rams, who've been making all kinds of moves. Von Miller, OBJ, they're all in on this season. 49ers, maybe not so much. The total sitting at 49. Alex, you also have a play from this game. What do you like?
I do. I just want to say, too, we're required to have a minimum of 4 props to come onto this show. Uncle Dave and I, we each usually come with 5. This is my 6th prop. I like this prop so much. This line dropped about an hour, half an hour before we came on air. I was just so excited to see it that I wanted to get this out as quickly as possible. I haven't done the normal amount of research that I typically get to do with a play, but I absolutely love this. That is Darrell Henderson over 62.5 rushing yards. He's averaging 70 rushing yards per game. He's cleared this total in 5 of 8 games. It appears this number is somewhat discounted because Henderson is coming off an 11 carry, 55-yard performance where the Rams were forced to abandon the run after going down 21-3 against the Titans after the Titans defense almost scored 2 touchdowns. They scored 1 and then gave up a very short field for a second touchdown. The Rams run the ball well. They're 10th in offensive rushing DVOA. The Niners have also been gashed on the ground recently. They've given up 162.3 yards per game over their last 3 games. That's the second highest number in the NFL over that 3-game sample. This line should have opened closer to 70.5 in my opinion, and with the weapons the Rams have on offense, including we will see the debut of Mr. OBJ, defenses are likely to invite the Rams to run on them. So yeah, I love this line. This came out right before we went on air. Darrell Henderson over 62.5 rushing yards. I played up to 67.5.
By the way, I do want to point out that for those of you who like to complain in the chat that, oh, the number just moved literally as I was putting it in. What time does your article come out on SportsLine, Alex?
Roughly, I want to say between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Oh, so if people were SportsLine members, they would get them earlier than here on this show. Am I right?
Correct. For some of the plays, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm just throwing that out there. Just throwing it out there. You can decipher what you will from that reference. Be a SportsLine member. Let's go. Damn.
Best value in all of sports.
It's not close.
It's not close.
It's not close. I'll sit here all day, and you tell me the best value, and it won't even come close.
It's the best value on the internet, in my opinion. I'm not even saying that because I'm a part of the team either. Like, the value that you get for close to $10 a month is just unbelievable. The amount of content, valuable information. If you have any interest at any level in sports betting, this is such a tremendous value. Whether you are like a first-time bettor that's learning the ropes or you're an experienced bettor that's looking to take your game to the next level, SportsLine has content for everybody, a massive field of experts. Every single sport, every conceivable betting angle imaginable. It is just absolutely tremendous value.
I mean, I just wanted to say, you said it's the best value in sports. Best value in sports betting I get, but you can go to the Falcons Super, whatever they call it, the dome that they play in. The George, They don't call it the George. No, I don't even know the name of the dome. But you can get a hot dog for $1.50 there. That's the best value in sports.
That's the best value in all sports.
SportsLine's number 2. That's when it comes to sports betting and getting good advice.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I didn't know where you're going with that, but I
barely knew where I was going with it.
That we've got to just take that out of the show and just put that up on the page for the best promo anybody's ever done for SportsLine. I just wanted you to keep it going. By the way, somebody really wants us to hit on A.J. Dillon over 8.5 attempts. So damn it, can somebody please answer the question at -115?
I'll take it just because I'm so vested in this prop. Yeah, I absolutely like the over here. They're leaning on Dillon heavily. He is outperforming Aaron Jones on a per touch basis. His involvement is growing each and every week. He's had double-digit carries in 4 of the last 6 games. He's had at least 8 carries in 5 of 6 games. He's just playing phenomenally right now. Green Bay is going to continue to have to lean on him and ride him. He has been a big part of the offense. So, yeah, I absolutely like the over. I think he's very likely to finish with double-digit carries.
Why is it only 8.5 then? Like they should be putting that at 9.5 at a minimum. And usually when I see a number like that, I think to myself, okay, they're trying to get us to bet a certain way. They do that with sides all the time.
All the time.
I don't know if they're necessarily up to speed. Right.
Well, that's the point. That's my point, is they're not up to speed. And that's what happens, which is why we have you guys, which is why we have the pros, because you find those holes. And
props,
not always going to hit. Yeah.
Props is such a vast market space. There are so many individual players and prop lines. It is just such a large coverage area that it is very hard for the books to find an edge on that large of a surface area. So that's why that's why this market is as inefficient as it is. You'll often see these very beatable, exploitable lines, just frankly due to just the scope of the entire surface area.
100%.
The books are realizing what I've known for 15 years. It is hard to predict human performance in sports on a game-to-game basis.
100%. I say it in golf all the time, too. I do a lot of golf handicapping, being on the first cut here at CBS Sportsline. And when you have 156 players, it's very, very hard to hit all of the numbers correctly. It's even harder trying to find those holes in those numbers, which is what we try to do on a daily basis. And damn it, we love to try. All right, let's get back to our board. By the way, interesting chat question. And Dave, I'm going to bring it to you. You can bet on certain players having more, whether it's quarterback against quarterback, receiver against receiver. So there's a bet, Judy, more yards than Devontae Smith, minus 120.
I don't know if I would bet either side of that. I know that Smith has more upside. Just we haven't seen a game where Jerry Judy has gone for 100 yards. I know my colleague on Fantasy Football today, Jamie Eisberg, really believes that this is the week that he just blows up and goes for like 100 yards. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far on it. I probably wouldn't play this one. I think this is one that you can just, maybe in your mind, you'll take a side on it. Who's safer? It's probably Judy, but it's still not one that I would feel comfortable saying, oh yeah, you got to take Smith or you got to take Judy on this one. I could end up being pretty close between the two of them.
Well, that's the thing, and I will tell people a cautionary tale because I made this bet last week in the Colts and Jets game. Mike White, more yards than Carson Wentz. He had 95 yards in the first quarter and then had that little clip on his finger and is out the rest of the game. And it is debilitating up here when you know you had a winning bet and you're watching it stand on the sidelines for 3 quarters. It's very tough. And Judy has been very injury prone. That's why I say that. You just never know.
Those bets are fun, by the way. Everybody can find some bets there that are obvious sides to take on that one.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get to our last play of the day. And we got to know, we have this incredible text thread that we have with all of the crew on Early Edge. And sometimes you get really good nuggets in there. And today, I'm shocked that it was AB, but AB sent this in today. And he was like, if the Chiefs win this week, they'll have the second most wins in the AFC. Let that sink in for a second. Yeah. All we do week in and week out, and they're my squad. Everybody knows they're my squad. They stink. They stink, which means the AFC stinks if they have the second most wins and they're favored on the road Sunday Night Football by 2.5 against the Raiders, total 52. And this has been a very eye-opening season, Dave, for my guy, number 15. But you like him in a prop this week, or maybe against him in a prop this week.
Yeah, earmuffs, Coach. You're not going to like to hear this one. I'm taking under 287.5 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes at minus 115 at Caesars Sportsbook. Coach, if you watch every game for Kansas City, you kind of have an idea of what's wrong with the offense. If you ask me, I think the offensive line isn't doing a good job protecting Patrick Mahomes. It's making him a little bit more frenetic in the pocket. He's pressing a little bit. Their run game is really just not where it should be. They've been missing Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They might get him back, but even if he comes back this week, I expect him to share with Darrell Williams. And teams are playing heavy zone coverage against the Kansas City. They're daring them to run the football. And maybe under normal circumstances, and maybe this week, they'll say, okay, we'll run the football a little bit more. If we get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back, we feel good using him as a running back. They clearly don't feel quite as good when it's Darrell Williams, Derek Gore, Jerick McKinnon, and everybody else that they've been using. It's really been just those three. All that stuff has led to mistakes from Patrick Mahomes and why he hasn't been so great. The offensive line might be getting worse. Not only is Lucas Niang not expected to play, neither is Mike Remmers. Those are both right tackles for the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe Kyle Long comes back, but if not, it's going to be Andrew Wiley. He's been a nightmare at right tackle. Here comes Max Crosby and the Las Vegas Raiders ready to attack Patrick Mahomes. The run game, mentioned it, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could play, but if he does and they run the ball with Edwards-Helaire, that's not getting passing yards to Patrick Mahomes. That's getting rushing yards into the back pocket of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and it might help Kansas City win, and that's all they care about right now. They're tired of trying to win with style points. They just want to win, and they can do it against the Raiders, and they might have to do it leaning on the ground game a little bit more if Clyde Edwards-Helaire plays. Now, here are the two stats that really sent me to accept this prop because it's an ugly prop to be on. The Raiders have the most zone coverage played at 79.3% of their defensive snaps this year. Far and away, They're playing exactly the type of coverage that's been stymieing the Kansas City passing game. But there's more. At 33.5%, the Raiders have the third highest pressure rate in football. And if we're looking over just the last 3 weeks, that pressure rate is up to 44%. That's the highest pressure rate. So this is just a combination of terrible situational football for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to take on a defense that they haven't been able to figure out schematically at the very least, not necessarily the Raiders version of it. And the Raiders are getting pressure on quarterbacks over the last 3 games at almost a 50% clip. You just saw what pressure did to Lamar Jackson on Thursday night. It could happen to Patrick Mahomes as well. I am very nervous to say that Patrick Mahomes will get to 300 yards. This is about as close as you can get where you don't have to lay a ton of juice to say he's not going to do it. Under 287.5 for Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry, Coach. It doesn't mean that they're going to lose. I'm just saying that Patrick Mahomes might give you 250 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Still a top 10 fantasy quarterback, but not someone who's going to go out and just completely destroy the Raiders defense.
I know. Alex, please pile on. Let's go.
Dave brought up the Kansas City backfield. I just wanted to piggyback off that and tell you guys that my favorite nickname in sports right now is Darrell the Mentor Williams.
Darrell the Mentor Williams. Oh, I like that a lot. By the way, I don't know if you guys watch the morning show. Jay Smooth has now started calling himself the Machine. Because apparently he's so good at college basketball handicapping. He's like, all I do is just churn out winners. I'm the Machine. So I told him live on the show, I said, okay, until the day after the national championship, you're no longer Jay Smooth, and you're simply the Machine, which I guarantee you will come back to bite him.
Shout out to the Machine.
Oh, I love that so much. All right. We got to as many props as we possibly can, so you know what time it is. By the way, Kelsey's lucky that about three or four other people in the chat said they take a Mahomes over interception prop every week because Kelsey's my girl. But that one hurt until I saw it's hit 7 of 9 games. And I'm like, okay, I can understand playing that. Would we play it this week against the Raiders, which all the nuggets that Uncle Dave just gave us, would we play over half an interception for Patrick Mahomes, Alex?
I typically shy away from these props. I think that they are oftentimes dependent on things that are difficult to project. And there's just not usually enough edge for me to typically bet these sort of props. If you do like betting these sort of props, I would say, yes, is probably a good spot based on this Raiders defense applying a lot of pressure and, being able to generate a lot of, pressure with their front four without having to send multiple defenders. And we've seen Mahomes play pretty erratically and force a lot of balls down the field that, he frankly shouldn't be. So, I think this is a pretty good spot to probably play it.
AB would be like, hell yeah, bang it, double, triple units, 5% bomb of the week. We don't do those stupid things on this show. It drives me nuts because I watch other shows, and they're like, this is my 5% bomb of the month. Stop it.
The max whale bet, Coach.
Yeah, I'm 20-0 since 1985 with these bets.
But only on Wednesdays.
Yeah, only on Wednesdays in the month of November. All right, let's put up the recap because my guys gave you more information in 55 minutes than you will get the rest of the week. It's all about information. Knowledge is power. If your book doesn't have some of these, take the information you hear on the show and apply it to the bets that your book does have. Okay? So here we go. Corey Davis under his receiving total, 49.5. Stefan Diggs over 73.5 receiving yards. TJ Hawkinson over 4.5 receptions. Kirk Cousins under his passing total. A.J. Dillon over 54.5 rushing and receiving yards. Also, Alex told you he likes the over 8.5 rush attempts as well. He will be getting more touches because he deserves it. Darrell Henderson with the Los Angeles Rams over 62.5 rushing yards, minus 114. Then Uncle Dave, here's his 5 plays. Dalton Schultz under his receiving prop. Matt Ryan over 290.5. Jeremy Mcnichols over 19.5 receiving yards. Jerry Judy over 58.5 receiving yards. Patrick Mahomes under 287.5. All right. I like to wrap up every single show of mine, letting my guys and ladies tell me what they're most looking forward to with whatever the topic is. This is props. So, Uncle Dave, this week in the props market, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Jerry Judy going over probably close to 65 yards. So anything that you can get on him that's well north of 58.5, but under 66, go for it.
Alex?
I'm looking forward to my guy, A.J. Dillon, continuing to emerge in this Packers backfield. I have just been blown away by him. I think he is one of the most talented, explosive, young running backs in the NFL. He's outplaying his backfield mate, Aaron Jones, and I think that's going to continue versus a very, very soft Seattle rushing defense.
He called them soft. He used the dreaded S word, soft. All right, I'm ready to have a week. I'm ready to put the last 2 weeks behind us. I'm ready for the market to do what the market is supposed to do. So there's only one thing left to do, as Kelsey likes to say, and you know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these prop tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, Prop Stars, Uncle Dave, the jeweler on the ones and the twos, and our entire team behind the scenes at SportsLine. Oh, man, we love doing this. We grind every single day. Remember, if sometimes you're feeling a little bit down or you're feeling like you're getting kind of sick of the grind, take a couple of days off. Take a week off. We do this every day, 365. Even we have to do it. So just manage that. Just manage that. All right? And tell your friends, the only sports betting brand that you're going to have fun, you're going to learn, and damn it, you're going to feel included right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.